Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. This is Doug with News and Views by Doug. And this is where I talk about my opinions and observations on world events, politics, and pretty much anything else I feel like talking about. Did make a video yesterday, decided I wanted to take a day off and watch the World Cup. And it was a good day. Watched Norway embarrass Brazil, and then watched England overcome some of the bullshit the World Cup has done and overcame and beat Mexico. This World Cup, I used to play football or soccer, and I've never seen such bad refereeing. And you could just tell the FIFA people want certain teams to advance and win. The Cape Verde Islands, even though I didn't agree with their player choices because they brought a lot of players from off the islands to play, they were the darling of the World Cup, and they were doing well, and they got screwed by the referees towards the end of the game. There was one obvious penalty in the penalty box, and the referee ignored it. Then when they had their last chance to score with a free kick, the referee just called the match and said, nope, we're done. And then when it comes to the U.S., there was a foul called in the game versus Bosnia-Herzegovina. And honestly, upon review, it wasn't a penalty. The players got their legs locked up together, and the American player, which is a star, he stepped on the other player's ankle, but it wasn't intentional by any means. And he received a red card, kicking him out of the match, and then he was supposed to be kicked out of the next game. But President Trump apparently intervened and called the FIFA's head guy, and the decision was reversed, which I've never heard of that ever happening. So is the game today versus Belgium being tainted a little bit? Yeah. Red card's a red card, right or wrong. You're supposed to play by the rules, and apparently we're cheating. So if the U.S. team wins, great. If they lose, maybe it was meant to be. Hate saying that, but facts are the facts. So several days ago, the governor of California, Governor Newsom, we've known he's been corrupt for years. And we know that his wife has been involved in a lot of shady dealings. And they've basically had a play-for-play thing going on for years in the state. And Newsom was one of those governors that, he made rules for you and me, but he never played by the same rules. So as it turns out, his chief of staff was indicted for fraud, stealing almost $250,000 from Bonta, who's the attorney general, stealing money from his campaign. And she was indicted. And those charges, especially when it comes to tax fraud, is years and years of imprisonment. But she's not getting that severe of a punishment. And now we know the reason why. She turned against Gavin and started telling the feds everything that he's been doing. Well, here's the funniest part of this. Newsom's online making videos crying that he and his wife are just victims of Trump's weaponization of the Department of Justice. And I think I showed you that video a couple of days ago. But he's been making videos all weekend. Crimes down in California. And as Benny Johnson, a commentator, said, yeah, because we're arresting all of the criminals and deporting them. California's a sanctuary state, in case you didn't know. So as it turns out, it wasn't Trump. It was Biden that started the investigation back in 2024. And it turns out one of the insiders in Gavin Newsom's, little circle of friends, she was wearing a wire for the FBI. And apparently they have all kinds of evidence of Gavin's corruption. Now let's see what happens and if he goes down like he should. His presidential hopes, probably over. So you'll see a long video of that from Benny Johnson.
Anyway, the point is that Gavin Newsom is a dirty scumbag. He's lying about everything here because Joe Biden actually began this investigation into Gavin Newsom. We just learned something remarkable about this investigation that will blow the lid off of everything. Gavin Newsom's cooked. And this is probably why Gavin Newsom, over the last 24 hours, I just checked his timeline, has released like infinity videos of him attacking President Trump and talking about how great he is and talking about things that Fox News won't cover. Crime is down across the board. Yeah, dude, we're deporting all of your murderers and rapists and criminals. That's why crime is down across the board. And ladies and gentlemen, the FBI has been arresting a lot of Californians, including the guy who just threatened to kill my family. He was from California. He's pled guilty and now is rotting in federal prison. Well, anyway, we found out that there are several investigations into Gavin Newsom, and they're focused on his wife's taxes and his former chief of staff. So we learned this last week. Gavin has been panicking, and now we officially know why. It's not because Donald Trump's being mean to him. It's not even because all of this started under Joe Biden. It's because his own staffers were wearing an FBI wire to nab him, and they got the goods, dude. Look at this. The FBI have an informant wearing a wire for years in Gavin Newsom's office. Look at this. Joe Biden started the investigation into Gavin Newsom. Lots of Democrats need to issue apologies on this. Let's go ahead and read. FBI infiltrated Gavin Newsom's inner circle by convincing governor's strongest ally to wear a wire, according to the lawyers. Look at this. The FBI had a mole inside of Gavin Newsom's political orbit before the agency's corruption probe expanded to the governor and his wife. Democrat insider Alexis Podesta, 45, secretly recorded conversations during the criminal probe into Gavin Newsom's then chief of staff, Diana Williamson, who pled guilty to federal tax fraud and tax charges. So they got her to plead guilty. Now, federal prosecutor friends of mine who know how these cases work, guys who have prosecuted federal cases for 40 years, tell me that when you have somebody this high up that's pleading guilty to tax charges and federal fraud charges, these are lesser charges for like the grand conspiracy charges that could put you away for decades. Why would they charge somebody on lesser charges? They're giving up the bigger fish. They're giving up the larger tunas to the feds. The reason why Gavin Newsom's chief of staff would plead guilty, because that's, of course, a horrible news day for them. That's the end of their career. That's the end. That's something really bad that happens to Gavin Newsom. The reason why they would plead guilty is because they have taken a side against Gavin Newsom in a federal probe, and that they're going to give up now Gavin Newsom and his entire operation. And that is presumably what's happening here, as we have now learned that the feds had demonstrable evidence against Gavin Newsom and his team because they have it all on tape. The revelation that she was wearing a wire from far back as June 2024. Hold on, June 2024? Who was president in June 2024? Was it Orange Man bad? Is it Donald Trump? Is it No King's Trump? No, it's freaking Joe Biden. But also, who was running for president in 2024? It was Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom have a blood feud that goes back a very long time. And I think that people need to start understanding that that's actually going to be the ball game for Democrats in the year 2028. It's going to be Gavin versus Kamala. Obviously, AOC and the Democrat Socialists are going to have a big part in this. But the two heavyweights that could actually like hold it down are going to be Kamala and versus Gavin.
Then we just had our 4th of July weekend. Again, happy birthday, America. We turned 250 years old. But was it a good 4th of July? In Newport Beach, which is in Orange County, Southern California, we had thousands of young adults that there was a tweet to go to the beach and start fights and start violence and start all kinds of crap. And the Newport Beach Police Department was overrun, and they had to bring in officers from the sheriffs to other cities. And they made over 400 arrests of these people, And not only were they fighting and disturbing the peace on the beach, they started looting the stores in the general area, including a supermarket. And then they were launching their fireworks and mortars. And yeah, I'm saying mortars, they're huge fireworks. They were launching them at the police, and at least one officer was injured, but they said he'll be okay. But we'll show you a couple of videos from the beach to the looting. And, this kind of thing happened, I believe it was Miami, just a couple of weeks ago. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with our youth? That there's just no control. There's no responsibility for their actions. There's no common sense. Well, I say it comes down to parenting.
Illegal fireworks and fights in Newport Beach tonight. We're learning much more about what sparked the 4th of July chaos. Officers say they were forced to move in and make more than 400 arrests. NBC4's Tracy Leong has been digging into what happened. She joins us now live with the latest. Tracy.
Yeah, Kathy, and about half of those 400 arrests that were made last night were for people who were refusing to leave this area after officers declared an unlawful assembly. Take a listen. Video captured the chaos that unfolded on the Balboa Peninsula in Newport Beach during the 4th of July. You can see hundreds of people gathering inside the pavilion's parking lot, setting off fireworks, throwing watermelons and water bottles at the crowd and the police officers. One officer was struck with a mortar. He was treated and is expected to be okay. Multiple fights also broke out between the crowds of people and the police, and many people were also standing in the roadways blocking traffic, forcing police to close down several streets. City officials say social media posts drew large crowds of juveniles and young adults to Newport Beach late last night, and they engaged in dangerous and unlawful behavior. Police were seen in riot gear ordering people to leave after declaring an unlawful assembly. About 350 Newport Beach police officers, as well as 17 nearby law enforcement agencies, responded last night. The Newport Beach Fire Department responded to about 100 emergency incidents yesterday, including 10 fires, and they transported 44 people to local hospitals, including 6 trauma patients. I spoke to a family who is staying right across from the pavilions. Here's how they described what they saw.
So here where I live, I have someone firing off fireworks and throughout the day and night. Doesn't matter what the day is. And it's been going on for a while. And then on one of the local Facebook pages, a lot of people were asking people, call the police. But it's going on all over the city where people are just launching these fireworks at all hours of the night, waking up their, babies. And some guys have PTSD from the military. And they're waking people up and the dogs are panicking. And so near my house, and again, it happens all the time, but near my house on Saturday, one of my neighbors decided that it was okay to start launching mortar shells over the neighborhood. And they started around 5, 6 o'clock. And I finally got fed up with it around 7. I went to go look for who it was. And I found them literally in the middle of the street with mortar launchers, launching large fireworks over the neighborhood. And one of the guys approached me. Turns out we know each other. And I basically said, you're not going to like what I have to say. If this continues, I'm calling the police. I said, it's not even dark yet. I said, why don't you wait until 9 o'clock when all the other fireworks are going off? Blow your wad. He's like, yeah, man, you're right. So to give them some credit, they did stop until 8:30 and then all hell broke loose again. People don't care. Again, there's no common sense. And the thing is, when I was a kid, we had Roman candles and small firecrackers. And you lit those off. Didn't really cause any issues. These people have mortar shells. Huge fireworks that they're bringing into San Diego County, which it's illegal to have fireworks in San Diego County. So here it is up in Orange County. You'll see video where people had a large amount of fireworks and they were shooting them off in the neighborhood, celebrating the 4th of July, except that somehow the cache of fireworks caught fire and exploded, caught a car on fire and injured people. One woman was dead, 3 adults injured, and 1 child injured. It was a year ago in Orange County that a little girl was killed by illegal fireworks. And it's been almost a year, they finally charged the man with manslaughter. They are also charging the guy who started this last fire on Saturday with manslaughter. You'll see in a video where one firework hit a Delta airliner that was coming in to land in Chicago. You'll see fireworks displays that were on the bridge in New York, and it caught fire.
While millions watched spectacular 4th of July fireworks shows across the country, not all of those shows went as planned. ABC's Melissa Don details the deadly consequences when things go wrong.
Tonight, an urgent investigation into a 4th of July fireworks disaster in Southern California. At least one person was killed and 3 others injured, including a child. A chaotic scene unfolding in front of a home after a car caught on fire when a large quantity of fireworks ignited and exploded in Chino, California. This incident, one of several 4th of July weekend mishaps coast to coast. A scary situation in Chicago when a firework hit a Delta plane coming in for landing at Midway International.
In Tower, we just had a firework hit our plane, Delta 1076, we're continuing.
In New York, during an iconic fireworks show, a small section of the Brooklyn Bridge catching fire. The angle captured by multiple people.
We constantly have people blowing off their fingers and just being stupid because there's no common sense and no responsibility being taken. No, let's get drunk and celebrate with fireworks, explosives. They don't care. So we have that. Now, we already talked about one politician. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell from the U.S. Senate. The guy's old. He apparently had a heart attack back on June 15th, was rushed to the hospital, and apparently was not alive. We don't know if he is alive. His people are finally claiming, after a month of people asking, where's Mitch? What happened to Mitch? He's supposed to be working in the Senate, voting on bills, including the Save America bill. But Mitch was nowhere to be found. Well, in recent days, it's coming out that they're claiming, no one has still seen him, but they're claiming that Mitch is alive, but he's barely hanging on. Therefore, he needs to be removed. We need someone in the Senate who can vote and do their job. Mitch is not coming back, but he hasn't resigned if he's still alive. Now, here's the weird thing. He's married to a woman that you'll see here in the video. She used to be the former Secretary of Transportation. Her family comes from Taiwan, and they own the foremost shipping company, the largest in Taiwan. They're billionaires. She apparently married Mitch and has been controlling him since the marriage. How the hell does she become Secretary of Transportation knowing that she's got it in with the Taiwanese, the largest shipping company there? But here's the other thing. After Mitch went down, she took off to China, communist China. And there's pictures of her, and you'll see in the video, she's meeting with the vice president of the Chinese Communist Party. What the hell? She's an American citizen. She's a former administration, the head of Department of Transportation. And she's meeting with the communist Chinese and doesn't seem to give a shit that her husband's supposedly alive, laying in a hospital bed.
We have an absolutely insane and hard to believe update on the Mitch McConnell crisis. Is Mitch McConnell even still with us? I don't know, because he hasn't been seen alive for nearly a month. He's disappeared when he was found unconscious and rushed to the hospital requiring advanced life support. But it's the actions of Mitch McConnell's very creepy wife and her dark connections to China that has a lot of people asking a lot of questions right now. So here's what we know. Mitch McConnell was found unconscious. and effectively without a pulse because he had a cardiac arrest. You can hear this in the 911 call. ALS response to Mitch McConnell's house. ALS stands for Advanced Life Support Required. Someone's unconscious and they need help. Now Mitch McConnell's office and staff, who refused to acknowledge what had happened to Mitch McConnell, are finally forced to admit that, in fact, he suffered a massive heart attack. Mitch McConnell, who already is in horrible health condition. Many are asking, is he even alive? It's been weeks with zero confirmation. The U.S. Senate shouldn't be used as a taxpayer-funded hospice care, is what everyone's saying. His staff won't say if he's in the hospital. His staff won't give his condition. Nobody knows where Mitch McConnell is. Nobody knows if Mitch McConnell is still with us. If Mitch McConnell and his family want privacy, fine, good, but he needs to resign. Otherwise, he needs to reveal his condition, his ability to do the job. Because it's Mitch McConnell right now that's stopping the Save America Act from being passed. You know this? One more vote, and we'd be able to get rid of the filibuster and pass the Save America Act. It is Mitch McConnell's dying wish that President Trump be stopped. This is the same thing with John McCain voting against the repeal of Obamacare. John McCain did the exact same thing with his dying vote. These cretins. So it's now been 27 days, to my count, that we haven't seen Mitch McConnell alive. Who is Mitch McConnell's wife? Well, somebody named Elaine Chao. And you might remember who Elaine Chao is because she's been the 84-year-old's handler ever since they got married. She's the daughter of Chinese immigrants to America that are billionaires, just so happen to own the biggest shipping company in Taiwan. And Elaine Chao decided that in the middle of her husband's life-altering, career-altering, medical collapse, I mean, again, truly, we have no idea what the state of Mitch McConnell is right now, if he's even with us. Elaine Chao decided to flee to China. Elaine Chao was seen on a trip to China 3 days after her husband's hospitalization. Oh, no. That's not good. After Mitch McConnell was discovered unconscious and hospitalized with life-threatening condition that they've been lying to us about, his wife flew to Beijing for meetings with Communist Chinese Party leadership. She's getting her orders from her handlers on what to do next, which documents to burn, and then what the new game plan should be. Oh my goodness gracious. Mitch McConnell is owned by China and his wife is a Chinese spy. U.S. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao jets to Beijing. You know, because her husband's dying, she leaves to Beijing. Oh, great. This is just like what this is. This is just a Eric Swalwell, Fang Fang. So this is like a higher level. This is like the premium USDA choice Eric Swalwell, Fang Fang, Bang Bang situation. So she fled to China. Is this what you do when your husband's dying? 3 days after McConnell was found unconscious, hospitalized, his wife, a private citizen, traveled to Beijing to meet with CCP leadership, including the Chinese Vice President, Han Zheng. Why is she meeting with the Communist Party? Why does her husband still hospitalized? What the hell is going on? His wife's meeting with the Chinese vice president. Look at that. Wow. She looks really bothered by the state of her husband.
The FBI needs to investigate some things. People need to take responsibility. Mitch needs to be replaced as soon as possible. Now, off to the United Kingdom. We already know that people are losing their freedom of speech. I mean, they already lost their freedom of keeping arms. We already know that the Muslims are trying to take over the entire United Kingdom. But they've lost their freedom of speech. There are British folks that are in prison because they voiced an opinion on social media about the Muslims. And if you say anything about Muslims in the United Kingdom, not only are you a racist, but now you're going to jail. Well, YouTube put out an alert, and you'll see the video here, where they're being told by the British government that they need to start pushing the British legacy media, the mainstream media. They need to push their channels and their views and not push the independent journalists and the free thinkers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we have a massive free speech alert coming from none other than, you guessed it, the United Kingdom. They call it Great Britain. Now we got to call it the once Great Britain. Not so much anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Coming out this morning, a message from YouTube to all of its content creators has been verified. This message from YouTube coming out this morning is warning that the United Kingdom government is attempting to force YouTube to push forward legacy media outlets to YouTube viewers like the BBC, ITV, and Channel 4. These are British public legacy media outlets. The United Kingdom government wants YouTube to push these outlets instead of independent journalists and independent political commentators. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not YouTube doing this. This is the British government leaning on YouTube, pressuring YouTube to try to do this. YouTube, actually, credit to them, YouTube sent out this message to all types of YouTube commentators and YouTubers saying this. This is a message from YouTube here. They say, the United Kingdom government is running a public consultation called Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for United Kingdom media, is what it's called. The proposals coming from the British government include mandatory changes to how content is discovered on YouTube. This could direct audiences away from your channel. My channel, I suppose.
Well, the guy in the video, he's kind of praising YouTube for coming out and telling people and thinking that YouTube's going to protect them. Don't believe it. I used to have a news channel. Over 320,000 subscribers. People that were relying on me for their daily news. And I met many of my subscribers out in the field, always thanking me for what I did. Wanting to take selfies with my fat ass. Happy to meet me. When I reported the news here in San Diego, I did it without opinion. I simply showed video of the incident. I did interviews with authorities and witnesses, and I gave no opinion. The problem is I wouldn't edit my videos. Now, I didn't go that far, but if you had a bloody nose or a broken arm and there was medics taking care of you, yeah, I shot video of it. Did YouTube protect my freedom of speech, my freedom of the press, my First Amendment rights? No. After almost 10 years, 320,000 plus subscribers, more subscribers than all the TV news stations in San Diego put together, I got kicked off. They killed my channel. So don't go praising YouTube for being the freedom fighters. They're not. They bend. And here's the weirdest thing. They didn't like that I didn't edit my videos of bloody noses and broken arms. But yet they showed people being blown up in Ukraine. They showed the Gazan terrorists attacking Israel and dragging dead bodies through the streets. They showed pillaging, plundering, rioting, fighting in other parts of the world. They showed all kinds of things that were violent. Absolutely violent. But my bloody nose and broken arms were too much for them. So, don't believe them. They don't give a shit about your rights. Anyways, folks, it's Monday. It's July 6th. I hope that if you like these videos, you'll hit the subscribe button, Hit the thumbs up. Give me your opinions. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are. I will respond. But as I always say, and I'll leave you with a quote. It's the latest thing I've been doing. But as I like to say, please take care of yourself. Take care of your family and friends. Keep an eye out for anything. If you see something, say something. We have a lot of bad people in this country that are out there to hurt us. Out there to, here's the YouTube term, unalive. But I'm telling you folks, be safe. Be aware of your surroundings. As always, I'm going to leave you with a quote from a famous American. And this one's going to come from our very first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Jay. Let me put my glasses on here. That way I don't screw things up. His most cited quote was, "Those who own the country ought to govern it." That means Americans, not foreigners. Should we have foreign-born people in our government making decisions? Should we have judges who are foreign-born be judges making rulings? I don't know. Once they become citizens, they have the rights of citizenship. But we seem to have so many people in this country that they become citizens, but they don't become Americans. I'll leave you with that.